Poor posture, shoulder health and flexibility are a huge problem with Gaelic footballers. And in today's video, we're going to find out why and exactly how you can fix it. And the good news is you can make massive improvements to your posture and your shoulder flexibility in just 8 to 12 weeks. So first of all, this is obviously not a problem that's exclusive to Gaelic footballers. It's basically an epidemic to all members of society in Western countries especially. Poor posture is absolutely everywhere and there's a few reasons for it. So as many of you may know, we are way less active than we used to be, than our grandparents used to be, and every single generation before that. So many of our daily tasks are now way easier and way more automated, which makes for an easier or higher standard of living, if you want to describe it as a standard of living. But what it does is it makes us often very lazy, very weak, and very unfit. And Gaelic footballers aren't exclusive to that. But what's particularly causing bad posture is screen time. That screen time isn't just our phones, it's also televisions, laptops, computers, screens of any kind, which we have so much more of than any other humans throughout history. So we're in this posture all the time, where our shoulders are bent forward and we're looking at a screen. Or I think with most humans in the Western world now, we're looking at the screen for 6 to 8 hours a day on our phones. So it's something crazy, something extremely high like that. I know for me personally, I work online like many of you will, and I have to be very aware of improving my posture, making sure I'm not sitting too long, making sure I'm not looking at the phone or the laptop for too long. But that has a big impact on your posture, just being in that seated position where your hip flexors are shortened, your pecs are shortened, your glutes are lengthened, so they become very inactive, and something similar happens with your upper body. That becomes very lengthened and stays in that position. So you end up with these tight pecs at the front, which are short, tight, and bent over like this, and you end up with all the pain, like when you touch it and you need a massage in your shoulders. It's not because it's short, tight back here, it's because it's constantly stretched forward and these muscles are long and weak, like the inactive glutes down there. From constantly being in that seated position where their muscle is lengthened, you have the similar situation with your upper body. Now, this was described to me in the seminar that I did with Hassan Zaid all those years ago. As you can imagine, posture has a huge impact on your spinal health and on the lower back pain. But if you watch that video I did on hamstrings and lower back a few weeks ago, you'll see how something very similar affects the lower part of the body as well. Two other big causes of bad posture are driving. The most popular job on earth is being a driver of any kind. So you can imagine between taxis and Ubers, delivery drivers of all kinds, couriers. Driving is an extremely popular job, and if you are a driver, you could be sitting down for long periods. If you're traveling home from training, the GA community is a very popular thing to travel from Limerick, from Dublin, for wherever you're in university, back home for training and back, or just be driving around the country with work and then have to come home for training. So you have to be very aware. These things do have an impact on your posture. And then also stress, your stress hormone cortisol has negative impact on your posture. People who are low testosterone, high stress, they're very bent over, their body, their anatomy takes shape in that they don't want to be seen, they're trying to hide from stress, they're under so much pressure all the time, versus someone that's high testosterone, high confidence, literally fills up as much space as possible. That's how we are wired as human beings. A lot of this stuff is unconscious or subconscious. Think of a gorilla in the jungle, the biggest, strongest gorilla out of the pack. He's going to stand up straight, he's going to have his chest out. That's literally what it's like to be high testosterone, low stress. Now the thing about stress in humans, it's a bit of a funny one, because a lot of people who go through massively stressful lives, in terms of like running a business or a Navy SEAL or a sports star, they've trained themselves to manage that stress, so they actually enjoy it. Where there are a lot of other people, they might not go through anything near as stressful, but they're very weak or fragile, and they feel very panicked or panic attack going through any sort of small little inconvenience. So stress is very funny like that, and we won't be going too deeply into that in the video, but just know that stress or high stress levels do negatively affect posture. Now, as a Gaelic footballer, it's crucial that you improve your posture. Posture is going to have a big impact on how you play the game. So the first position it affects your game is the tackle. If someone tries to run by you, you're going to put your arm out like this. If you have bad posture and you put your arm out like this, as someone tries to run by you and they run past at any bit of speed, and your posture or your flexibility in your shoulder is bad, it's going to lead to an injury. That's where injuries happen. They don't happen when your hand is down like this. It's when your palm is open and your hand is out from your body. So for tackling, it's often not the guy with the biggest bench press. It's often the guy who has the most flexibility in his shoulder and being good at exercises like pull-ups. That will make you a far better tackler than being big on the bench press. Not that there's anything wrong with bench pressing per se, but it actually can make it worse. Also, apart from the tackling Gaelic football, another area is obviously catching. So your arms stretch out overhead and you need to be very flexible and have very good posture to get up into that position regularly and compete for ball and compete for kickouts. The final area, which is a little bit unique to Gaelic football, is the shoulder charge. It's completely legal in Gaelic football to line a fella up, run at him from 10-20 yards and absolutely nail him as long as it's shoulder to shoulder. It's completely fair and legal tackle. You can't do this in a lot of other sports, but you can in Gaelic football. So I'm not saying that this is going to stop you from getting nailed, but what it can do is if someone lines you up and they catch you on the blind side and they nail you shoulder to shoulder, that you'll be able to take the belt. I remember this from my playing days, from my brief playing days. My first year as a senior footballer, I remember watching a game and Trevor Mortimer was still playing at the time for Shrule, and he lined up my friend and teammate at the time, Alan Feely, and he absolutely nailed him, like lifted him off the ground. Now there was many people at these two games, so there'll be far more than me that remembers it, but he nailed him. And the especially impressive thing was about it was Alan just got straight up. It was unbelievable, like a massive hit. Alan just bounced straight up like a medicine ball, popping back up off the ground again. And the very next week, Clamars played Ballahadreen, and funnily enough, Alan absolutely nailed Andy Moran, and he lined him up, and Alan was a seriously powerful athlete, and he nailed him. And exact same thing with Andy. Andy just bounced up as if nothing happened. Like neither of them got a free for the hits, and they just got straight up off the ground. I was only 18 at the time. I was very skinny and light, maybe 70 kg or something like that. And I remember having a good conversation with Alan about it across those 2 weeks. And what he said to me was very interesting, but it makes perfect sense. He said if he saw a fella that's very, very light, he's probably going to go harder at him and not lighter, because he knows he can nail him. And if he nails him, the ball will pop up and he'll get a turnover. If he sees someone who's very, very built and very strong, you will want to nail them and you will go in for the tackle, but you're not nearly as sure often that you're going to do damage. So that's something interesting for you to think about, whether you're tackling, whether you're catching the ball overhead, whether you're going to meet a tackle shoulder to shoulder, whether you're the one hitting or the one getting hit. It's really important to have healthy, strong shoulders in Gaelic football, and shoulder injuries are extremely common in the sport. So before we go on to how to fix it, which is actually quite simple, even though it's hard work like everything else, but it is very simple, can weight training or strength training make the problem even worse and make your posture and your shoulder flexibility worse? The answer is 100% yes. Lifting weights can make your shoulder posture and flexibility even worse. If you have bad posture, and you go into the gym and you're doing bicep curls with a really short range of motion where there's no stretch. So the bicep muscle crosses the elbow joint and the shoulder joint. So if you're just doing this part and you're not stretching the part that crosses the shoulder joint, like in an incline bicep curl, for example, you can actually make your biceps even tighter and you can bring your shoulders forward and make your posture even worse from going to the gym. Also with the bench press, if your pecs are very, very tight, they're pulling your shoulders forward like this, and you go doing maybe a chest press machine or a barbell bench press, and it's all contraction, 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 short range of motion, then you can make your chest even tighter, and that can bring your shoulders forward even more. This was taught to me first by Hassan Zaid, but it makes absolutely perfect sense. If you're doing chest or bicep exercises where you're not fully stretching the bicep and you're not fully stretching the chest, you can make your posture and your flexibility in your shoulder even worse from lifting weights. And there's no excuse for that, because if you lift weights properly and you're a little bit smarter about it, you can improve your posture rapidly instead of doing something stupid, making yourself even more tight. So if my goal was to rapidly improve my posture and shoulder flexibility, this is exactly what I do. The first thing is there's two stretches here. The first one is one that I talk about all the time, is just hanging from a pull-up bar. You want to hang from a pull-up bar for at least a minute, up to 3 minutes every single day. I would do that as often as you can. I'd get a pull-up bar at your house and I would just hang off it every single day. Now this is going to be extremely uncomfortable at the start, but it will improve rapidly and you'll find your shoulder flexibility and your posture improving very, very quickly. Now don't worry at the beginning if you're like some of my clients and you can barely hold on to the bar for 30 seconds. Again, it's going to improve quickly as long as you do it every day. I recommend getting a pull-up bar at your house, but if you can't get a pull-up bar at your house, at least do it every time you get to the gym or every time you get to collective training with your club. Hang for at least a minute off the pull-up bar. There's another stretch here that's a little bit less severe, but I absolutely love it. And the good thing about it is you don't need a pull-up bar. You can do it body weight at home. So it's called the half back bridge. You grab your ankles, you squeeze your shoulder blades back together as much as possible. You'll really feel a stretch in your chest and your lower back. Now, the ultimate expression of shoulder flexibility in gymnastics and calisthenics is something called the back bridge. I learned how to do this about 4 or 5 years ago. It was extremely difficult when I did it at the start. Now, without doing much stretching at all, I can do it year round. I can do that matrix style movement off the wall, I can bend backwards, and I can get my shoulders into extremely difficult positions. So if you do dedicate the time to stretching this out, you can improve on it an awful lot very, very quickly. So like the rest of the muscle groups we've been going through for flexibility, we say strengthen and lengthen. So with the muscles on the front of the body, the muscles that you can see in the mirror, biceps and chest and your front of your shoulders, they're the ones we want to stretch out. And then the muscles on the back of the body, so the traps, the back, the lats, they're the muscles we want to squeeze and contract. And if you think about it, face pulls, people find it very hard to do that posture because it's the exact opposite posture to being sitting at a desk. Same with hanging or off a pull-up bar. It's the exact opposite posture to sitting down working on your desk or looking at your phone. And learning how to contract your lats properly is crucial, which most people don't know how to do. My favorite exercise to learn that is cable rows. But the best exercises to pull your shoulder back, the ones that I use the most, are the seated cable row. I'd be doing at least 3 sets of that twice per week, and you can get quite strong on that very, very quickly. And it's a super exercise for teaching people how to use their lats properly and to feel their lats. Chest supported rows are also excellent. And then the 3 shoulder or external rotation exercises that I absolutely love is face pulls, band pull parts, and Powell raises. They're super exercises. I put them on every single program I do. I put at least one of those on, and I'm currently doing one of those exercises on 3 different days a week. I do one on my back day, on my push day, and on my shoulders upper body volume day. They're really, really important. It's only a small muscle, but it massively dictates how strong you are and how good your posture and technique is on the rest of your upper body movements. So they're the exercises I would use to pull your shoulders back. To stretch the front while you're pulling your shoulders back, a flat dumbbell press with a neutral grip, bringing the elbows down as low as possible. That's going to really stretch out your pec, whether that's a flat or an incline. Stretch push-ups are an absolutely excellent exercise. Parallel push-ups, they're a slept-on exercise, so people underestimating how effective push-ups can be is very, very common. But those stretch push-ups, if you haven't got parallettes, you can use kettlebells or dumbbells. They're super for the chest and for stretching out the chest. With pullovers as well, I like to use a kettlebell or a dumbbell with these, and I get all of the guys I train to do them at some stage. Not in an old school bodybuilding sense to develop the chest or whatever, but to improve shoulder flexibility, really stretch out the rib cage and your serratus anterior, which is a key shoulder stabilizer in overhead pressing that often gets neglected. Also, dips are an incredible exercise for stretching out the chest, and I'm a big, big fan of using exercises that stretch the chest rather than just contract it, which is where most people live for chest exercises and presses. It's all big contraction, shortened range of motion. Whether you'll notice on my programs that I give out all the time, there's always exercises to really stretch the chest and open it up. And that's for posture. That's the reason I do that. And then finally, incline curls. So big mistake with incline curls is guys will bring the elbows forward. They'll be on the bench and they'll bring the elbows forward. But if the elbow comes forward here beside the body, then that means you're taking away the whole point of having the bench. So if you keep your elbow back here while you're doing your curls and squeeze up, that's going to stretch the bicep where it crosses the shoulder joint and the elbow joint. So I like to do normal incline curls. I like to do incline hammer curls. And there's an exercise that Poliquin used to recommend where the arm comes out like this sideways. It's like a crucifix curl, some people might call it, or a Comerford curl. And you get a huge stretch. You'll be using less weight than normal, but you'll get a huge stretch on the bicep. Your chest will be stretched isometrically while you're in that position also. And that'll really open up your chest and your biceps and improve your posture. And finally, outside of the gym, a few basic things that'll massively lower your stress levels. Now we'll cover sleep and stress in other videos, but these things will improve your posture massively at the same time as anything you can do in the gym, and they could have an even bigger impact. Is remove stressful people from your life. Anyone who's causing unnecessary drama or is just bad vibe or bad energy to be around, cut them out. Now this isn't always easy. They could be family members, they could be your boss at work or work colleagues, so it's not always easy to cut out negative people. But if you have the opportunity to do it, be ruthless. You only have one life. Don't keep people in it if they're just stressing you out all the time. The second is sleep. So prioritizing high quality sleep. Rule number one, get your phone outside of the room. If your phone is inside the room, it's going to massively lower the quality of sleep you get. That's going to have you off to a negative start when it comes to high stress levels and lower testosterone levels just by the poor sleep quality alone. A diet that's high in sugar and high in processed foods has been shown to increase cortisol levels or stress levels in the body too. So keep your foods to high protein, complex carbohydrates, plenty of fruits and vegetables, as little processed food as possible. And then finally, being dehydrated and drinking loads of coffee instead of just focusing on drinking plenty of water. That causes a lot of stress in the body. So drink 3-4 liters of water a day and remove as much caffeine from the day as possible. A cup or two of black coffee a day is fine, being running at 92, 93, 94 degrees. But if you can just have black coffee, if you're looking for caffeine, and keep it earlier than 1 or 2 in the day, you're going to be absolutely fine in terms of whatever amount of caffeine that you'll need. And then the rest of the day, you can have as much water as possible, and that's going to lower stress levels as well. Okay, so I hope that opened your eyes to how simple it is to improve your posture. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, hit the subscribe button just now. And remember, improving your posture is going to make you look far better. It's going to lower your stress levels. It's going to reduce the chances of you getting injured, and just all around, better posture is associated with far better health. So follow the simple tips on this board. Aim to improve them slightly week to week, starting by just becoming more conscious and more aware of them. And in just 12 to 24 weeks, just like my clients, you can dramatically transform the way your physique looks, with improved posture being a key part of that transformation. Let's go.